Hey, let's talk about how to set up drums. Let's start with the kick. Okay, the next thing we want to move in is our throne. We want to make sure that we're not too close up on the kick pedal, all right, just crowding it. We also want to make sure that we're not too far back to where we're actually stretched out. Both of those things are going to make it hard to play the pedal. So a nice distance, nice medium distance to where you can comfortably work that pedal. Everyone's going to be a little different. I'm not giving you measurements. That would be kind of pointless. Just feel it out. Don't be too close. Don't be too far away. Okay, so the next thing that I bring in is the snare drum. I want to make sure that the snare drum, the rim, is around the belly button level. Okay, mine's a little lower than that, but you don't want it to be super duper low. And then also the other thing to keep in mind is I move my snare in fairly close to the kick drum. There's a little bit of space. Obviously, I don't want the hoop touching the wood of the kick drum. That's going to damage it. But I want it close because I'm going to move in a lot of different elements and I want to be efficient with space. So those are the two things to think about. Don't make it too low. Move it in close to the kick. You'll be good to go. Okay, so the next thing that I bring in is my hi-hat. And keep in mind that the most important thing here is the drums being comfortable for you. Okay, because your body is different than my body. I don't know how long your arms are, so I can't give you specific measurements for this. You just need to make sure that you're feeling comfortable as you move from one element on the drum set to another. But what I like to do here, a couple rules of thumb, I like my hi-hat pedal to be at about a 45-degree angle from my kick drum pedal. Okay, it's not like this. It's not a 90-degree, because that's really awkward. It's not straight on. That's about straight on. That's really awkward as well. Can't manipulate that foot as well as I'd like to when it's at a 45. So that's how I like it, is right here at the 45. So I don't want the hats to be covering the snare or to be over the top. That's awkward. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A lot of guys like their hats super high up, and I don't do that because I like to move quickly between the hats and the snare. But if you want them up here, great. And that's really what I do with the hi-hat. All right, the next thing I bring in are my rack toms. Okay, this is my 10-inch and my 12-inch. I'm not going to play these right now, but the key here is, again, comfort. I want to make sure that these are easily accessible. They're within reach. I'm not reaching super far out to hit these. I know some people like to level these out, and that's fine if that's what you want, but that's actually harder for me to play. The angle for the stick is kind of weird for me. So these are going to take a little bit of time maybe for you to figure out your toms. You're going to have to, like I said, make some micro adjustments. It all comes down to your comfort level and the accessibility. So you might see some people with the toms angled even more extreme in this fashion, higher up. Fine, that's what works for them, great. Set these up so that you feel good. And then, let me put these back here. I just want to make sure that you see these are pretty close to my kick drum, and this is again going along with what I've been saying. I like everything to be nice and compact, to be close to me. I'm a smaller guy, so my arms really aren't very long. I want it all to be nice and tight, and that's what we got going on here. Okay, so the next thing I move in is my floor tom. I want to make sure that I'm able to go quickly from the snare to the floor tom. Snare, floor tom. Again, this is all about comfort. So if I'm rolling down the toms, and then I'm able to move directly here, right? It's not all the way over here. I'm as close as I can be. You can tell that I'm really close here, moving everything in nice and compact as we've been talking about. So floor tom, it is a little lower than my snare. Ideally, these would be the exact same height, so I could probably move this up a tad, but this is really what I look for here, nice and comfy. All right, so next I like to bring in my ride. You're getting pretty used to me saying this by now, but it's all about comfort. There are people you've seen probably who, again, just have a flat. I've got an angle here to the ride. They like it flat. That's fine too. I do find that playing off the ride works a little better when you've got an angle. I think crashing the ride, it still definitely works with an angle. I do like crashing the ride when it's straight on, so you can experiment with that. But I want easy access to the bell. Okay, I hit that with the shank of the stick. And I want easy access to the ride right here. There are people who put their toms in this space, and you can move the ride off here. Feel free to do that. I've always just loved having a ride nice and close right here. So that's pretty much all there is to take into account with the ride. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm not too low to where, if I hit it, it's going to wobble and actually hit my kick drum. I'm not too high up like my crashes might be. Just got it nice, arm's length, and just kind of level with my arm so that I can play that nice and easy. I guess another thing to think about would be distance from the hi-hat, because sometimes you do some dancing between the two. So everything's nice and compact, working for me. Okay, now I've moved in my crash and I've got a splash attached as well. So with this, I want to make sure that the splash isn't too far away from the hats. Okay, if it were over here, it'd be really tough to get to. So I've got it nice and close. And then this crash is close enough to where I could come up, hit it, mute it. I'd have to move a little bit, but maybe in the future I could get a boom arm or something, bring it in a little closer. This works fine. I can lean over just a little bit and hit this if needed, and I'm not really moving too much. I don't want to play because I don't want to frap out the mics, but yeah, if I'm playing, this is fine. No big deal. So that works for me. All right, so I have now brought in my 18-inch crash. Attached to that, I've got this auxiliary hi-hat stand. These are 13-inch new beats if you wanted to know. And then I've got my little stack here. So while I was setting this up, I actually realized a couple things. I wanted this to be a little further back, but at the same time, this hi-hat needed to come forward. So I was able to adjust this boom arm to go back, and then I was able to move the stand forward. So those are the little micro adjustments I'm talking about. You've got to set stuff up, and it's not going to be right the first time. You got to set it up, you got to tweak it, sit down, play, be like, I need to move this. You're going to have to do that, but that's fine. See, now I've got the hats where I want them right here. I can kind of dance between these two. Stack's nice and accessible right there, and then the crash feels good. And as I'm showing you this, there's even tiny micro adjustments I want to make as I'm sitting here, but this is a great starting point, and I can kind of move things around as needed. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you is I've got this little laptop stand and my music stand for when I'm recording or when I'm practicing and I want to look at drum notation, stuff like that. And that's where those fit in, just right here. Maybe you could put it over here, whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's really how I set these guys up. And it's not one right way to do it. You might want to set things up in a different order, and that's great. Do what feels comfortable for you. Thanks for checking this out.